Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our office at the National Council of Resistance of Iran. Today, in our press conference, we are going to reveal a new nuclear site of the Iranian regime. According to the Defense and Strategic Research Committee of the National Council of Resistance of Iran, based on reports by the Network Inside Iran of the People's Mojahedin Organization of Iran, PMOI MEK, since 2009, SPND, Organization of Defense Innovation and Research, has initiated a new secret site and a new secret project to develop a boosted nuclear weapon. According to this plan, the regime seeks to boost nuclear warheads to be mounted on ballistic missiles within the range of over 3,000 kilometers. Do I have sound? Okay. As per this plan, SPND is pursuing the extraction and utilization of tritium in the weapons construction to boost the nuclear weapons and also enable the regime with the potential production of hydrogen bombs. Part of the SPND's plan involves a new secret site internally within the regime as the Rangin Kaman Rainbow Site in the region called Ivanaki. This site is heavily guarded and is off limits the public. The regime has pursued this project under the cover of the oil and petrochemical industries. We have obtained the names of experts, details about the front companies used by the SPND to acquire material and expertise from abroad or justify their work under the guise of oil and petrochemical activities. The disclosure today follows a series of revelations made by the PMOI MEK and the NCRI since 1991. My colleague, Mr. Jafarzadeh, will provide details and elaborate about the new information we are revealing today. Our revelation once again demonstrates that the Iranian regime nuclear program is entirely aimed at acquiring nuclear weapons. It proves that all of Iran's nuclear sites must be shut down. No enrichment capability must be allowed. The missile program of the regime is part and parcel of its acquiring nuclear warheads. The role that the IAEA should play is to verify the closure of all sites. The regime's goal has never been anything but building a nuclear bomb. Have in mind that over the past 3 decades, all of the regime's nuclear activities have been first exposed by our resistance, and then the regime has been forced to acknowledge it. Part of the regime's survival strategy is obtaining nuclear weapons and has absolutely no foundation in the production of civil nuclear energy. While the regime has spent $2 trillion while the regime has spent $2 trillion on nuclear program over the past 3 decades, there has been no significant investment in the oil and gas industry. Today, a significant portion of the gasoline and natural gas consumed within Iran is imported from abroad. The mullah's regime is in its weakest position and faces an explosive society. Since Pezeshkian took office as the regime's new president in August of last year, more than 1,200 prisoners, including political prisoners, have been executed. And currently, dozens of political prisoners are at risk of execution. The regime's policy remains one of the dragging and delaying to run the clock, while dashing toward building nuclear weapons. Now is the time to end this cycle. Now is the time to prohibit any enrichment and to completely close the entire nuclear apparatus of the regime. The UN snapback mechanism must be activated to reimpose all UN Security Council sanctions before it expires in few months. The regime's threat to global peace and stability is not limited to its nuclear program. The genocide inside Iran, as confirmed by the UN Special Rapporteur, and the export of terrorism and warmongering necessitate a decisive policy towards it. We have always emphasized that the solution to the Iranian regime nuclear threat and its threat to global peace and security is its overthrow by the Iranian people and the Iranian organized resistance. There is no need for foreign boots on the ground or the appropriation of money. The international community should recognize the rights of the Iranian people to confront the Revolutionary Guards, to end the rule of clerics. And in order to explain all the details about this site and new revelation, I asked my colleague, Mr. Jafarzadeh, to join here on the podium and also make all the details about this new site. Thank you.
Elaborate. Do we have voice?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Now we have. Okay. Let's start by saying that this event is actually live streamed on our social media tools, on YouTube and our X, and our account is at NCRI-US. For the media, that I know there are a lot of you who are watching here, and if you want to pose your questions, please send an email to media@ncri-us.org, and we'll try to get your questions during the Q&A session. And the source, as Ms. Samsami explained, is the NCRI's Defense and Strategic Research Committee, based on the information from the network inside Iran of the main Iranian opposition movement, the Mojahedin or the MEK. As you know, they've been proven accurate in the past, and they have revealed a whole host of information about the nuclear weapons program of Iran, including the 2002 revelation of the nuclear site in Natanz that triggered the IAEA inspections of Iranian nuclear sites for the first time, that has continued ever since. And this information was compiled from various sources. It's been a while that they've been working on this information, verifying various sources, and eventually they were confident that this information is accurate, and that's why we're revealing it today. Now, I just want to mention a few things first about SPND, because you're going to be hearing a lot during the conference about SPND, which is the acronym for سازمان پژوهش‌های نوین دفاعی, or Organization for Advanced Defense Research. This is the entity that we first revealed in July of 2011. It was just formed in the new format in February of that year, and 3 years later, the Treasury Department designated this as under proliferation. And it's actually controlled by the Minister of Defense. They report to the Minister of Defense, which itself is controlled by the Revolutionary Guard. So having said that, let's talk about the new secret project pursued by SPND. They are working to develop a boosted nuclear weapon. This was not part of their plan as part of Ahmad plan when they originally had it, and they sort of shelved that plan in 2003 and restarted a whole new plan. And part of that plan, as we saw in this case, was boosting the nuclear weapons. And this is to be mounted on ballistic missiles with a range of over 3,000 kilometers. In order to do that, they have been working on an extraction and utilization of tritium, which is a critical element in order to boost nuclear weapons, but it also gives the regime a parallel path to building a hydrogen bomb. Now, let's talk about that, about our evidence. Since 2013, SPND has been basically recruiting and transferring nuclear fusion and tritium experts from the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran to SPND. And they've been doing it very quietly in a secret way, not raising any flags about that. They have, let me just give you some examples here. One of them is Dr. Ibrahim Jebrahimi. He actually studied nuclear science at Amir Kabir University under the supervision of Reza Amrollahi. I'm sure that's a well-known name. He was a former head of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, one of the subject interests of the IAEA, that in some cases they actually managed to interview him and ask him a few questions, including, interestingly, back in 2008, they asked him about tritium, and he badly rejected that because there were some reports that the Germans in 2008, I believe, that they had stopped the shipment of tritium to Iran, and he rejected there's no such thing. And, but this person, Ibrahim Haji Ibrahimi, has been employed by the Atomic Energy Organization. He was from 2009 to 2013, and then was transferred to SPND in 2013. He completed his PhD at Mazandaran University in 2020. The other person is Hadi Zakir Khatir. He's an assistant professor at the Malik Ashtar University. That's the university operated by the Ministry of Defense. And actually, SPND requested the universities and experts to not to publish any research, any papers, anything related to nuclear fusion and tritium. Not only that, that they started removing any such articles that already were published. I don't think they can, completely clean things because some of the things are out of their control, but to the extent that they can control it, they have been removing it. That's another red flag by itself that, that they have been focusing on that one. Now, the Ministry of Defense, in order to fulfill this project, they have been setting up a number of front companies. I'm giving examples here. There's one parent company called PETSAR. I will elaborate on that one. And then there are 4 large industrial companies that are subsidiaries or under control of PETSAR. They are very interesting, how the regime has, since day one, camouflaged the program, whether it was Natanz to Iraq to everything else that we see until today. Let's look at PETSAR. Now, PETSAR is actually the abbreviation for Pishtazan Toseh Sanati Arya Razi, which, on the surface they are registered as being involved in oil and petrochemical industries. The founding chairman is interesting. It was the RGC Brigadier General Nasser Maliki. Now, who is Nasser Maliki? He was the head of the Hemmat missile industry. This is the missile industry that was behind not only just building, missiles, including Shahab 3 and others, but more advanced missiles ever since. But also they have been part and parcel of the nuclear weapons program of the Iran regime. He was, for a period, the Deputy Minister of Defense for Aerospace Industries. He is actually designated in 2007 by the UN Security Council Resolution 1747 for quote, involved in nuclear or ballistic missile activities. Now, he was the head of that, remember, that front company that is involved supposedly in oil and petrochemical industries. Now, this is the original board members. Just look at them. Sayed Mir Ahad, associated with the Minister of Defense. Said Mehdi Hosseini Mounez, he was actually a spokesperson for the Ministry of Defense. Safdar Ali Asadi, he was a deputy at Azarab company, and I'm sure some of the journalists who have been involved following the nuclear development, they know the long stand-up between the IAEA and Iran on Parchin, where they were building two high explosive chambers for testing nuclear detonators, and Azarab was the company that had built it, headed by Saeed Borji, who's now heading the Medfaz. So that's the connection. And then Alireza Moniriya Abiyane, who was part of the airspace organization, now the Macron Petrochemical. Now, the current chair of PETSAR is Arman Azarli. He actually, interestingly, received his degree in nuclear engineering about 2 decades ago. Now, they have 4 subsidiary companies that on one of them we're going to focus today. One is the Diba Energy Sina company. The other one is Pishtazan Sanat Shams Omid company. The other one is Sazandegan Niruzay Afaq company. And the last one is Fanavar Andishan Pasargad Arya company. Just look at the names. They're very benign looking, very secular names that they have chosen for covering their activities. Now let's focus on that one that is the subject of our press conference. Part of the subject of press conference today is Diba Energy Sina company. It was established in June of 2011. They are involved in the production of various, at least on their website, that's what it says, various chemical solvents such as ethylamine, and they operate a very large site in Ivanaki, which is what we're going to focus today. So let's focus on that site, Ivanaki site. That's the site that SPND actually started the construction of it in 2009. Interestingly, who was heading it? It was Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, who's been the head of the SPND until he was assassinated in 2020. The most wanted person when it came to the nuclear weapons program of Iran, also known as the father of the nuclear weapons program of the regime. It's also referred to as Rangin Kaman site within the regime, perhaps because it's very close to a chain of mountains nearby. It's called Rangin Kaman Mountains. It's a very large area of about 2,500 acres, and the construction took about roughly 5 years, completed in 2013. And the head of the SPND counterintelligence person named RG Brigadier Mustafa Siri, which we have talked about him many, many times since a decade ago, was also overseeing the security and the protection of this site since day one and continues to do so. Now, let's get a sense of where it's located. On this map, you can see the map of, this is Tehran, right here. This is the highway from Tehran going to Semnan. And this is Ivanaki, and this is the site that we're going to be talking about today. So let's just take an overall look at the area at the site. Of course, you see the map of Iran, and the Semnan province, which one of the larger provinces of Iran, about 100,000 square kilometers. And that's the site that we'll be focusing on today, Ivanaki site. There are Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, which I will elaborate on that one later on. Just a quick look at the buildings there. And that's unit number 2. And unit number 3, a double hangar. And then the checkpoint right here. We'll elaborate on that one. And then the radar and the anti-missile defense system there. This is the radar chart site just south of it, near Garmsar. And the air defense site for the protection of this. So just to give you an overview of that, and again, that's like, all the sites posted here. These are the 2 sites we talked about in Shah Route Semnan before, and in conjunction with the sites that we're talking about today. So having said that, that highway that I mentioned, Tehran-Semnan highway, this is the Ivanaki township, and roughly about 5 kilometers further, when you come from Tehran, there is a paved road actually branches off here to the north and goes up, and that's the paved road coming here all the way. And here are the 3 things that you saw earlier. Here's the checkpoint here. And so these are the 4 things that we're going to take a look at today. The checkpoint here, you notice that there are roadblocks right here. And the entrance, there's a parking space here. And they have counterintelligence units of SPND here, run by the IRGC. And all the vehicles are stopped. They go through an identity check, and unless they are cleared by the IRGC, they won't be able to get into this site. And again, these are the 3 sites. That's the unit number 1. And this is how it started the construction in 2009 under the supervision of Mohsen Fakhrizadeh of SPND. This is 2011. You can see some excavation. This is 2013, and this is how it looks like in 2024. Again, a significant portion actually is underground, but the dimension is roughly about 250 meters by 500 meters. It has 9 independent buildings here. And unit number 2, that looks very similar to that one. That's how it started, 2009, 2011, and then 2013. And that's how it looks like. It also has underground facility. It's about 1 mile south of unit number 1. The dimensions are roughly about 250 by 500, 8 different buildings there. The notable distance between the 2, there's no explanation other than they're taking into consideration for the safety and potential hazards right in the middle of nowhere. Why would you want to have them that far apart? And then the other one, the 3rd unit, this is 2009, and this is now 2024. It's east of the section 2. It's 150 meters by 300 meters as a double span hangar of 30 by 50 meters roughly. So the security of the site is extremely important because in order to hide it from the public, because this is a place that people know there's something going on there, sometimes they get some people to work there in terms of building and everything. Different stories are said, and we have talked to our sources on the ground. They're saying it's to some said it's a paint making factory, and also to some of them say it's something related to missiles in general. but they never go through anything further than that. A very unusual level of security there. The entire area is actually fenced off and monitored by cameras. They have announced this place, prohibited for hunting to make sure that no one even accidentally would get close to that. And the construction, as I said, was supervised by Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, who actually, he actually lived not too far from them. He lived in Absard. This is Absard, and this is the site that we're talking about, not very far. And there's actually a road that takes him directly from Absard to there. And he was actually killed when he was driving from Absard away from his home in October 2020. Now, the radar site nearby, actually, is run. It's called Adil Long Range Radar Site. It's run by the IRGC Airspace Force, and it's near the Nuruddin Abad village, and it was established in 2013, pretty much around the time that the construction of the site was completed. They established this radar site, and then the Missile Defense Unit, both of them run by the IRGC Airspace Force Unit. So this is the radar SAR, the GARM-SAR, and this is the air defense, missile defense system in south of GARM-SAR. I'm not aware of any painting factory that requires such level of protection. So just to give you another overview, here's Parchin, Tehran, Parchin. This is the site we're talking about, Ivanaki, completely run by SPND. This is the radar site. Right south of it is also the air defense system. These are the two sites that we talked about at our previous press conference, and January 31st here, again run by SPND, even though those sites were already known as being missile sites. But the new information we put out at the time was that SPND is heavily involved in there, and they had created a cover for that, for their activities. There's constant coming and going, and even presence of there. So it's really part of the project for nuclear warheads, not just simply missiles. So having said that, let's take a look at this new secret weapons project that I mentioned. A part of it is actually the Ivanaki site, the GARM-SAR radar site we talked about. The SEM-9 and Shahrud that we had exposed before is part of the whole package. And then this front company, PETSAR, and the 4 companies associated with them, that their job is to provide protection. But also we talked about the individuals that were involved in the research and development that are tied to SPND. Now, so what we highlighted today is actually the site in Ivanaki run by SPND. We talked about the role of Fakhrizadeh. We talked about the front companies that create the proper cover for this. We talked about the tritium being extracted and work in order to boost the nuclear weapons and give the ability to build hydrogen bombs. We talked about the nuclear fusion experts that are crucial, and also the highly protected site that exists here. Now, having said that, the evidence today is in a series of all the information that we had provided before, showing that the nuclear weapons program of the Iran regime has been moving forward rapidly all throughout this period. It was never stopped. At some points, it actually was elevated. The Ahmad plan was put aside in favor of a more comprehensive plan. And we also talk, the boosting nuclear warheads is a whole new element that shows that they want to rapidly move forward with their nuclear weapons program. The whole operations has been secret. Remember that every single site that people are actually looking at or inspecting, or the IA is going there, or is a big question mark about it. All of that were the ones that were exposed, a lot of them by us. And the role of the SPND and the IRGC, the Ministry of Defense, there's nothing peaceful, there's nothing civilian about that. And that's why we have called, and we did call back in January also. We've called for many years, and I want to reiterate again that all of these nuclear sites of the Iranian regime must be shut down. There's nothing peaceful about it. There's no way that you can live in coexistence with these sites. Everything else has been tried before. And the role of the IAEA from now on should be basically to monitor the shutting down of these nuclear sites. So that will conclude the first section of the part. I wanted to present the information for you, but I'm ready if you have any questions you want to add. Please identify yourself. There's a microphone. Please use that. Yes, please.
Michael Gordon, working. Michael Gordon, Wall Street Journal. Are you asserting that this Ivanaki site is just a facility with an unknown purpose? Are you asserting that it's somehow linked to tritium production? And if you're asserting the latter, what are the specific technical features of the structures there that lend support to that hypothesis?
Right. Well, what we are asserting here, and we're very careful not to overstate what we already know. The most important element regarding the site we mentioned is the role of SPND, okay? Because SPND is the main organization involved in the building the nuclear weapons program. And the way it started with Fakhrizadeh, the way it's continuing now, the level of secrecy about that. We also do know that the tritium program has also been in place. Well, I did not mention that tritium development is taking place at this particular site, but we are confident about the tritium program. It could be a part of it here. It could be a part of other places. We also talked about the experts who are traveling back and forth to these places. So I think this is the time for the IAEA, and I'm sure the IAEA, they put only a small portion of their information in their reports. There's still a ton of other things that I think what we put out today in terms of location, in terms of names and details, would be a good lead for the IAEA, other members in the intelligence community to follow this up.
Right, but just to clarify, I take it from you're not asserting that tritium is being produced at this site, and you're not presenting any specific evidence that that's occurring, but you're presenting evidence that this is a suspicious site that's highly secure and is intended for some unknown purpose in the Iranian program. That's what you're saying?
No, it's not for unknown purpose. It's part and parcel of the nuclear weapons program of the Iranian regime. Let me just say a few words about Semnan and also timeline. Since 2008, 2009, since 2008, 2009, the Iranian regime, basically they shifted gears. It was after the IAEA director, Mohammad al-Baradei, went to Tehran, actually met with Khamenei. And the regime concluded if we shift gears and move forward, nothing is going to happen. And if you look at all of the information related to this one, but also the ones we talked about in Semnan and Shahrud, all of them are around 2008, 2009. That's the time Tehrani Muqaddam, for instance, in late 2008, he went to Shahrud. He picked the site and built the site that is so elaborate now. The same situation in Semnan, the same situation, these sites that we're talking about, they were all started there. And it wasn't for an unknown purpose because you have Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. Mohsen Fakhrizadeh didn't have any life except building the bomb. That's all he was doing throughout his life, all he was focusing on. That's why he was evading interviews by the IAEA. They say, yeah, you can do an interview. That never happened. That's why I think he was assassinated in October of 2020. And this is the site that is somehow related to activities related to the development of nuclear warheads. And that's the question we're putting to the IAEA and others to follow up and see what are the deal, what is it specifically, and how is that tied to the other sites in Semnan. The second point I have is about the province itself. Semnan has been declared as a military province, okay? Why would you declare a province that is not even near the border? It's not like the Iran-Iraq war is affecting it or things like that. It borders Tehran. It's a very large province, I think about 5th or 6th province in the whole country. And the emphasis of the regime over the past few years, particularly since 2008, has been on Semnan. Nothing just happens in Semnan because Semnan is a nice place. No, these are all part and parcel of the SPND operation there. And this is in close vicinity there. The level of security and protection that they have provided it. The fact that Mustafa Siri, who is the head of the counterintelligence and security of SPND, is in charge of it. It's not some security company. You may have security for any place. No, this is SPND security and counterintelligence operating there. So that's these are all very important, red flags that we need to see the answers right. We need to see them picked up and pursued. A lot of the things that we revealed in the past had the same nature. We didn't know exactly all the little details, but once we put out, others got involved, compiled information. It turned out to be, major revelations. That's the nature of this one. I think I'm going to go there, and then you. Yes, please.
Anthony Mershak from MTV Lebanon. I have two questions. First question, has this intelligence been shared with Mr. Steve Witkoff or U.S. officials ahead of the 4th round of nuclear talk? And the second question, has it been verified by any international intelligence agencies?
Well, for the first question, the response to your first question, yes, it has been shared. And I don't know what their views are. I mean, this is pretty recent. I mean, we managed to compile all of it and get it final to the thing you see in just the past few days.
And it was for my second question. It was verified by any international intelligence agencies?
As I said, I don't know about them. I mean, this has been available to the IAEA. I'm sure they take their own things. They do their own due diligence. I'm not aware what their process is, what they will do with this. So we'll see. Who else? Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Alireza. Tritium is usually paired with deuterium in the boosting of nuclear warheads. Do you have any information about the production or the presence of deuterium production or usage development at this site?
Yes, the regime, we had some information released a few years ago that the regime has obtained deuterium. And I'm sure that's part of their program, their plan. The important thing is that to understand that boosting the nuclear program was not part of Ahmad. This is a new information, new intelligence. I think it's very significant that this is like a booster program, that didn't exist during the Ahmad plan. And I think this is an important red flag that they need to follow up in conjunction with deuterium, as you said. Any other questions? Yes, please.
Sure, thank you. Thank you. Michelle Friend from George Washington University.
Yes.
I'm not representing the university. I'm just here as a concerned citizen. I just wanted to ask a question about the Google Maps that you're using. It looks as though there are very, very few cars that are parked on the sites. So I'm just wondering.
What was the question? I didn't get it.
So from the Google Maps that you were showing, was this taken maybe on a Saturday or something? Because there aren't any cars parked anywhere. So there are at the checkpoint, And then the radar site, I think, if I remember correctly, it looks almost abandoned. So I'm just wondering a little bit about the...
Right. Well, you know how the Google Maps operate. You know, they take a shot, you know, at that moment. It's not like a continuous thing. And our information doesn't come from Google thing. The reason we're posting here is just to give you a sense, like what's the location we're talking about and what's the geographic area. The information comes many times. Google doesn't really show you anything. You just look at it. It looks like a building. It could look like any other building. It's just the purpose of showing what is it that we're talking about. All of the intelligence that we talk about has come from on the ground. The site, the locations, the vicinities, the ties to SPND. We get a lot of information on a constant basis, but you have to go through the process to know if this is really tied and how is it tied to SPND. And that's why, I mean, these Google Maps is just as a reference, and I'm sure others have much better, you know, satellite images that they can use that or put this in combination with whatever intelligence they have available to them. Yes. Any other questions? Yeah. Did you have any questions?
Yes. We have several questions from reporters and journalists who are watching the event press conference online. First question is from Josh Klein of the Breitbart News. It's a rather long because it gives some background as far as what is the background of his question. He says, in a broader context beyond the specific developments revealed today, the upcoming round of negotiations between the Trump administration and Iran set for this weekend has sparked intense debate. Among the more isolationist faction within the administration, there is a prevailing argument that only two options exist when dealing with the mullahs and their nuclear program. Either launch a military intervention, which would lead to chaos and prolonged nation building, or strike some form of diplomatic deal. With the momentum building toward a negotiated agreement, can you elaborate on why this binary choice is misleading? Additionally, how is the Iranian people's situation distinct, and why is the country poised for regime change without descending into chaos?
Okay. Very good. First of all, thank you very much, Josh Klein from Breitbart. Certainly, what we're talking about is the fact that when the question was asked about the view of the people of Iran, the people of Iran have totally rejected the nuclear weapons program of the Iran regime. It has no patriotic point behind it. It's actually to the detriment of the people of Iran. It's only being used in order to guarantee the survival of the Iranian regime and nothing beyond that. The regime has spent $2 trillion on the development of nuclear weapons because they say we want to enrich our own uranium presumably for the Bushehr nuclear reactor and the supposed 19 other nuclear reactors that they have been saying for over a decade that they want to build. Now, Iran, in order to enrich uranium, you need to have the uranium in Iran. The uranium that is now available in Iran does not even suffice for Bushehr. You need about 120 tons. The most they would have is roughly about 70. It doesn't even suffice for one Bushehr thing. Why would you spend $2 trillion because you say, I want to have my own enriched uranium, which you don't even have it, you're going to import it and enrich it in Iran? It just absolutely makes no sense whatsoever. They're going through all of these trouble. It's a lot cheaper, as everybody else is doing, that to get the fuel, nuclear fuel you need for your reactors from outside world. If there is a concern that maybe they won't sell it to us, there's not a single reactor in the world that I'm aware that is lacking fuel, that no one is selling them. It's just like totally ridiculous foundation. Plus, the regime is spending huge amount of money here and not on their oil and gas industry. We're sitting on the second largest oil and gas reserves combined in the world, yet the industry is so underdeveloped. They're importing gasoline, importing natural gas. Everything is just eroding. So all of the science is very clear, and that's why the people of Iran reject it. Having said that, there was an opportunity in the past, and perhaps also even now, to end the nuclear threat of Iran. When in 2002, when we revealed Natanz, the world started negotiating. At that time, it was EU3 with Iran. But instead of trying to shut down the program and end the enrichment program, they legitimized it. And remember, at the time, enrichment was frozen. It was stopped for several years. The regime said, okay, we will have no enrichment. And then they restarted, I think it was 2006 or 2007. And every promise they made about enrichment, they just went beyond that. That's why the opportunity was lost on so many occasions. And that's why even now what we're saying is that this regime coming to the negotiating table is much weaker than in 2015, which actually started in 2012, or even 2003. They have lost a lot of their clout in the region. Their biggest allies have been gone or shattered. They're in big trouble inside the country. The economy is in shambles. There have been 9 rounds of major uprisings in Iran, rejecting the regime. And that's why this is the time that if the outside world would stand firm in calling for ending the nuclear sites of Iran, there is a possibility that could happen. But short of that, I think you need to send a strong signal to the Iran regime that you're not going to back down. You're not going to allow the Iran regime to enrich uranium, because you're going to be back to square one. They have gone through that path before. And remember the site in Fardo, under the mountains. The regime said, okay, let's keep 1,000 centrifuges here. We're not going to feed uranium hexafluoride. Guess what? The highly enriched uranium is now actually developing under Fardo. So that's why what we're saying is that there is a strong opportunity for the people of Iran to end the rule of the clerics. There is a lot happening inside the country. This is the only sure way you want to, if you can, to end the threat, the nuclear threat, and also, the other threats of the regime, their proxies, their terrorism, and all of that. That's what we're calling, nothing more than that. Please, James.
Thank you very much. James Rosen with Newsmax. I have 3 questions, but I hope to get through them quickly. Just to follow up on 2 previous questions, if I understood you correctly, you have told us that this Ivanaki site has something to do with warhead production. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you're basing that on what specifically? What observations?
We are basing that based on the whole operation that SPND has been doing on the ground, number one. Second, the information we're getting on the ground from the sources, not what the regime is saying. That's why we're holding this press conference. Our sources are telling us that this site in Ivanaki is part of the nuclear weaponization, is part of building the nuclear warhead.
And you're not making that observation based on what you're seeing in terms of the infrastructure that's been photographed?
No.
In other words, you can't spot things from aerial photography?
Maybe some experts can detect something out of it. The reason I brought it here is because I just wanted to give you a location, like where's the site, that's all. Our information doesn't come from maps, it doesn't come from anything else except on the ground.
Number 2, following up on the question about the imagery, are you able to say, even to estimate, when these satellite images were taken?
Yes, because they're Google, they have dates on it, and you can see like this one is 2024. Right. We don't have our own satellite, so we just have to use that in order to just show the location.
And then the last question has to do with your operatives on the ground inside Iran. I remember attending your news conference about the Iranian drone program.
Yes.
And you had one photograph that you showed that was smuggled from inside of Iran that showed the exterior of, looked like sheds. I gather in this instance you have no photographs to show us that are not from Google or from satellite imagery. You have no visual evidence that's smuggled from out of Iran, at least at this time, relating to this site.
We do. And that's why we're holding this press conference. We do have evidence on the ground that shows that these sites are related to the nuclear weaponization. The problem is that if we shared it here, the source would be found out. And that's why we only talk about the content. We picked our own map right here and showing you this, giving you names, giving you the connection to SPND, giving you some of the names of the experts. We have more of that. So we have held some of the information that would, the reason we did it to hold the intelligence value on the ground, but we're 100% confident that this site and all the other information we put out is part and parcel of the nuclear weapons program of Iran. It's in the highest level of security for them. And I can, make sure that the mullahs are shaking now because they know what this is. They know what problems it's going to cause them. Interestingly, as soon as we put out the press release that we're going to have a press conference, it was just yesterday, and all the Iran regime media are attacking us because we just gave just a little hint of like what we're going to be talking about. It was a very small hint, but they got it. And they have been attacking us since yesterday. So I think this is so important for everyone to follow up on this one. Everybody else who has other means that they can complement this information, the experts, I'm sure the intelligence community has a lot of information that may not have meant anything, but in conjunction with this one could have a very important meaning. But also I specifically call on the IAEA because I'm sure they have a lot of things. When we mention those experts, they are very important. They know about them. And that's why I call upon the IAEA to not waste any time in following up on this issue. Claire, please.
Can I ask another one? Thank you. Claire Lopez. I didn't mention my name before, Lopez Liberty. We know that the Israelis took out the containment testing facility part at Parchin in a counter-attack last year. I think it was October, right? And do we know now, do you have any evidence now, whether there is another or a backup or another containment facility like there was at Parchin? If you're going to be developing warheads, if you're going to be working on the the tritium deuterium multi-point implosion sequence technology, you're going to need to test that somewhere. Is it here?
I don't know. Technically, I don't know if this is like a replacement for what you're saying. I don't know the technical answer to that one. But let me tell you something again on Semnan. Everything we've been revealing in the past 3-4 months centers around that, in dealing with the weaponization, that the level of expansion that started in 2009 is absolutely mind-boggling. The whole world has been only focusing on Natanz, on debate about the level of enrichment here and there, or having access to this site in Marivan and other places, and there have been little or no attention at all on the way that Tehran had expanded the program. I mean, since 2009, they went on a huge leap towards expansion, towards speeding up, or creating parallel sites that, especially Semnan, and I keep coming back to Semnan because this is where the regime is investing heavily. 10%, to be exact, actually is 9% of the entire province of Semnan, which is very large, about 100,000 square kilometer, is actually a military zone, totally off limits to the public. 27% of that is semi-military, meaning with some level of things. You know, this is unheard of. And this is very suitable. If you are developing nuclear weapons, you want to do tests, this is the place to do it, okay? And they have done some, and I'm not talking about warm tests, I'm talking about cold tests, okay? Even that, this is the place that, you know, I mean, Semnan has been a location, they've been doing it. The missiles that have been working on as part of their, you know, nuclear warhead program, all of that has been centered here, and all of them started in 2009 and expanded with very little attention. Remember, the whole conclusion of the intelligence community and others was that, you know, some of those things might have stopped at the time. They didn't. It just took a totally different form in a much higher level.
So you're saying Semnan, but not these kinds of container, facilities at Ivanaki?
I don't know. I mean, I would tell you if I knew for sure. I don't know if that's the case. Yes. Anything else?
Yes, we have two more questions from colleagues who are watching the event. Okay, question from John Bowden from The Independent. Given that an end to all enrichment is a red line for the regime, and the U.S. administration seems willing to allow civilian enrichment to continue, is it estimated that Iran has the capacity to produce weapons-grade material at all of its sites? And what could the U.S. do to actually disable or diminish the capacity short of a military action?
Well, first of all, if you allow any level of enrichment or activity simply because you got them to sign an agreement, you're not going to go anywhere, because we've been there, done that, okay? This is what they agreed back in 2003, you know, on several occasions, but also including at the JCPOA. No agreement will ever do or block enrichment or the move of Tehran towards building the bomb. So all you need to do is just call for the dismantlement of these sites, and let the Iranian regime decide what course they want to do. It's so important for the international community that the way that they have come into conclusion. I've seen the president, the Secretary of State has said that total dismantlement of the nuclear sites of Iran, total end to the enrichment program of the Iranian regime. That should be the policy. This is what the Iranian people have asked for. That's what we have been calling for many, many years ago. And even the last time we reiterated on it again was January 31st in our press conference here. That's where you want to keep the focus and let the Iran regime decide where they want to go, how the course of developments will determine.
Very well. Next question is from Todd Wood from CD Media. He's asking, how hardened is the site in question?
Pardon me again?
How hardened, how fortified or hardened is the site in question that was presented today in
Right. Well, you know, based on the information we had on the ground, that including people who have been to the vicinity, that it's totally cordoned off. There's no way you can actually get to these sites, even if you go around it, even if under the cover of hunting, under different covers, you will not be able to get there. So it's fenced off. There are cameras everywhere. There's, you know, anti-missile battery. There are checkpoints. So this is very, very hardened. And this is, you know, unless there is something very, very sensitive, very significant, you would not have this level of security on any of the other sites in Iran by the regime. No regular military site would have this level of control.
Very well.
Anything else? Thank you so much. Really appreciate for attending the press conference. I want to thank everyone, all of you, for coming here today. Appreciate that.